Hey everyone, how are you doing? I'm a little bit late this afternoon, but that's okay. We're flexible around here. um, so today we're going to talk about money. We're going to talk about profit margins, and we're going to talk about art shows. So I feel like I talk about this a lot usually, and I haven't really brought it up because, of course, in 2020, there have not been a lot of art shows going on. So that's unfortunate, but we're going to talk about it now. It's one of my favorite topics. So Sunday, a lot of you know if you follow me on social media or if you're on my email list for art products and stuff like that, you'll have heard that I did a pop-up on Sunday. It was super cool. My friend Robbie threw it. I helped him plan it. He's a pretty prolific vintage reseller, which is really cool. If you see me rocking any weird clothes or my purse, I got my vintage Coach purse from him. So he threw this event, this little pop-up in his backyard, very DIY style, which I appreciate always. And it went great. It went way better than I expected. It was my third art show of 2020, which is depressing to even say out loud, but just given the circumstances, totally makes sense. So we did that pop-up on Sunday and it went well. There was Coffee and Tea. There were a couple artists. Amber, who's in Cloudy Club as well, she was there and it was really good to see her. And then Joey Martinez and a couple other artists who I've known online but never met in person, which is always cool to meet your internet friends in real life, I think, because I don't know, everyone's always different in person when you finally meet them. But yeah, it went great. I bought some things. I bought something from Amber, which I now have hanging up over here. You can't see it, but it's a beautiful cloud painting. Yeah, so I'm always in my element when I'm doing an art show. I love talking to people in person. Honestly, selling is not weird for me anymore. I'm really comfortable with it. So yeah, I had a really good time. Thanks for anyone who came to that, or wish that you could from afar. Okay, so let's talk about money. I don't understand why people are uncomfortable talking about money. Maybe it's because I grew up in a family that was always talking about money, always, having money issues, discussing it right in front of us. It has never been weird to me. I remember my dad, for a little while, had a vending machine business on the side of his day job. And he used to let us count the quarters and stuff and roll them up for him because, in a vending machine, everything's like $1 or quarters. So we'd help him do that. And I don't know, it was never weird talking about money for me. So when people are awkward of talking about money, I think that's really weird. If that's you, I'm sorry, but I think that's really weird. Everyone uses money all the time. You pay your DTE bill, your water bill, you pay your rent or your mortgage, or someone pays it for you. Either way, you're relying on money all the time. You're using it all the time. You're buying coffee, whatever. We all use it. Most of us want more of it. I don't really know why it's weird to talk about it. So anyways, we're going to talk about it. So on Sunday, I made $622 in about 5 hours. That is well over $100 an hour. I'm very excited about that. And when I first realized that I could do this with my art was actually at a show at the Rockery in Wyandotte. I don't know if anybody has been sticking around that long, but we used to have a lot of art shows there. And it wasn't the first time that I had made that kind of money, honestly. Even my first art show, I made like $400 that day. But it was just, friends and family came. My aunt Patty bought, some work and everything. And I kind of just wrote it off as a fluke, like, oh, well, it's my friends and family. So of course they're going to buy something and support me. Like, it's not really something I could do. But I remember this one instance at the Rockery, and I had made a similar amount of money. And in the middle of it, it was like in the middle of the art show, I was counting my money. And I realized, I was like, this is so much more than I make at my day job. I was making like $11 an hour editing newspaper copy, which I liked, but like $11 an hour compared to this super easy couple $100 I made in like 3 hours doing what I loved. I was like drunk half the time. And it was awesome. And I got to hang out with my friends, and it sincerely felt like chilling and making bank and selling my art and talking about my art. So when I realized that I could make this kind of money doing something super easy, I was just like determined. I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I have to make this work. So if you've ever had this experience in an art show or an online sale or anything, you probably know what I'm talking about. It feels sweet. But if you don't, I highly encourage you to do an art show, mostly because, you know, I don't make that amount online. I really don't. My online sales are a lot slower unless I'm hosting a sale, but it really just comes down to how many people see your art that day. And of course, during an art show, there's a bunch of people walking around. I get hundreds of people who see my art. So of course, more people buy it because they're seeing it. And online, you have to kind of pay for that type of marketing to get people to see your art. But if they saw it, they'd probably buy it, which is why marketing is important. But we're not going to talk about that. That's a whole other subject. But yeah, so you can definitely make this kind of money too. It's very easy. Do an art show. I promise you'll love it. But the thing is yes, I made $622 in like 5 hours, but not all of that was profit. So you've got to think there are a lot of expenses that came before, during, and after that whole process, to where I didn't actually get to keep that entire $622. So for instance, some expenses that you might encounter. You have to actually make your artwork. So I'm sure everybody knows this one. Your cost of materials is very important. We talked about it in the Q&A about art supplies, how to find cheap art supplies. Canvases can be expensive. Merchandising your products can be expensive. Selling prints is a little bit more cost effective, but you still have to pay for someone to go print it or get a printer yourself. So, and this is what we call the profit margin. So what your income is, your revenue is that $622 I made that day. So that is my revenue for the day. But my expenses for the day are a lot different. And normally you don't always actually spend that money that day. So a lot of times you spend it well beforehand. So your profit margin is your revenue minus your expenses. So, okay, it sounds like we're getting into financial shit right now, which we are. I promise it's not that boring though. Once you start making money, you'll start getting kind of excited about this because it's kind of like a puzzle. It's like a game. And the more money you make is how you win. So, but yeah, so for instance, sorry, that's my dog downstairs. For instance, my coffee mugs. So I make little coffee mugs. I make about 20 a year, and they cost a lot of money. So the profit margin on those are quite small. So when I buy them in bulk, I buy them in 20. Of course, if I were to buy a single one, it would be a lot more money. But to have them shipped, created, you design it yourself, the manufacturer makes it, and for them to ship it to my house costs about $15 per mug. So that is the expense that I pay for them. The first expense that I pay for them, let's say that. And then I charge about $39. I charge $35 during the art show, which we'll go into later because of shipping costs. But so I charge about $39 or $35. Let's go with 35, it's an easier number. So the customer gives me $35. So really I'm making, what is that, 20 bucks. That is my profit, my first profit. But then I have to pay shipping. So shipping costs, I buy these little cardboard boxes online. They're about $1 a pop. Shipping itself, depending on how far you are, can be like $8. So that shaves a lot off too. So now I'm looking at more of like $11 profit. And that is my actual profit margin once I've shipped it. Your profit margin can be higher if you sell it in a different way, aka not online. You have to ship it. So when I was selling them for $35 at the art show this weekend, I was actually making that full $20 because I didn't have to pay for like the box for shipping. I didn't have to get, styrofoam to package it in, and I could really just sell it for $35 and get $20. So that helps a lot. So honestly, you can tweak things in your business to tweak your profit margin and actually make more money, even though you never change the price. So the price on that is still $35, but I actually make more money because I'm selling it in a different way. So, and you can apply this to anything in your art business. You can apply it to costs incurred at art shows or just online or any way that you sell your work. So let's talk about typical expenses you might have at an art show. So, hi Bitsy, I know you're so sad right now. You can't see me out of the frame, but my dog is over here whining on the stairs that I blocked off so we couldn't get my camera. Anyways, so typical expenses for an art show would be you can have a vendor fee. So some shows are free. This pop-up I did because it was at my friend's house. He didn't charge any of the artist fees, which is great. But if it's at a hall or some place that they have to rent, often they'll charge every booth a fee just for being there to help cover overhead costs, which totally makes sense. And that can be anywhere from $10, it could be free, it could be, I think I've paid as much as like $150, depending on the show, because sometimes they're really worth it. Especially when you're gonna make a couple $100 that night, definitely worth it. So that can be a fee, which just right off the bat, even if you don't sell anything, you have to pay that fee just for being there. And then there is a cost for like a pop-up table, or a cost for, I have this, you can't see it, but I have this grid board right here that I can hang my artwork on, and that cost me, I think, about like $50 on Amazon. You can get pegboards or S-hooks to hang your things on, frames if you want to frame your work. And actually I have a whole blog post on things to bring to an art show. It's called a vendor checklist. And you can read the blog post and then download the checklist if you're going to be doing an art show soon. That's super helpful. Honestly, I use my own checklist for that sometimes when I'm feeling frazzled and I'm not sure if I'm remembering everything. And that'll help you know like what you should be buying for the show. So there are lots of expenses for that. A lot of them are just one-time things. So like instead of renting one of those 6 feet tables, I just bought one and I use it every time and it's great. And it costed me like $30 at Walmart. I hate Walmart, I know, but it was really cheap and I was there. So yeah, those kind of things you can just reuse and reuse and reuse. I have little racks that hold my prints just because it looks nicer, and stuff like that. So those you can pay just one time, and then after a while you just reuse them and you never have to pay that cost again. Other things like the vendor fee, you're gonna have to pay that every single time. Another thing that you will have to worry about are like system processing fees. So, and this happens to me whether or not I sell it online or I sell it at a show. So I use this program called Stripe, and Stripe is basically a payment processing system. So what they do is when I like swipe my Square card on my phone, when I'm taking a debit card in person, or if you buy something through my site, it will take like, I don't know, it's like 2%, the same amount that like Venmo or Cash App will take. They take like 2% of what that person pays you out of your payment. So that, because you know you're paying for their service, which is totally cool. It's kind of like a pay as you use it, so it's not a monthly thing. So if I never sell anything that month, then I don't have to pay anything, which is cool. But that's another fee that you'll have to pay and will take out of your profit. So when and honestly, you really need to do some bookkeeping, and I really need to do better bookkeeping. I keep like a little, I have a Trello board. I don't know if anybody in here is into Trello, but I use Trello a lot, and I'll just put in there, you know, what did I earn? And then also what did I spend? So I'll calculate those fees at the end of the month and I'll put those in there. Anything that I spent, oh, I had to make prints, it's $20 here, $20 there. You just keep it all so that you know your actual profit at the end of the month. It's really not that hard. It seems really daunting and it is very boring, but if you just do it as you go, it's really not that bad. And then there's apps that you can use too, like Mint or whatever, but I just like Trello, just write it down. And that's easier for me. Or you can get like a notebook if you're a handwritten kind of gal. But yeah, so just keep track of it so that you know your actual profit margins, because if you don't know how much you're actually making, you could be making nothing. You could be just entertaining an expensive hobby. And I know that's really sad to say, and I've been there too when I was less serious, but when you start keeping track of your money and start keeping track of, okay, what is my revenue? What are my expenses? Then you can learn that profit margin and you can actually start making money. And then honestly, you'll make more money because you'll pay attention to it, and what you focus on grows. So if you don't have Trello, I suggest you get it. I fucking love it. It's free. And it's spelled Trello. And honestly, it's kind of just like a bunch of sticky notes, but in list format and on your phone. And you can put pictures in there and notes and files and videos and stuff if you need that to pay attention or need that for your memory. So in that way, you can keep track of everything that you spend and everything that you earn. So yeah. So, and I have not done the full calculations for my art show, but I do know, and now because I've had like my table, my grid board, and all my supplies for so long, I've kind of stopped counting those expenses in my art shows because to me that's something that has already tenfold paid for itself. Like that $30 Walmart table, I just made $600 in one day. Like I'm not really like that, and I've had that table for over a year, and I've used it every time. So that has been since paid for itself. So I don't even count those anymore. But I do count stuff like I had to make new prints or I had to buy S-Hooks this time. It was like $20. That's the kind of stuff that I do count. And then of course, always count your mileage. If you've ever actually done a business tax session, you'll know that your mileage driving to a show really saves you a lot of money. So count that. Yeah, so I'm sure I made more like, I don't know, 550, $500 if I'm, just roundabout lowballing it right now and not that full, $622. So definitely pay attention to your profit margin. I promise it's not that boring. I promise once you start making money, it will feel good and it will be fun and it will not feel stuffy and boring because you'll have money in your wallet and that always feels good. So if you have any questions, let me know. If you want to talk more about this, let me know. This is kind of the nitty-gritty stuff that nobody wants to deal with because all we want to do is just make art all day. But if you're being serious, you really have to actually pay attention to this stuff and it will help you and it will allow you to make more art because then eventually, we won't have to have a day job and that'll be great because we'll have kept track of our finances and got our shit together. And yeah. So if you have questions, definitely let me know. If you want to talk more about the financial stuff, let me know. I have a couple blog posts on this too that can really help you because it's kind of a heavy topic and it's honestly like you can get a financial advisor too if it's really intimidating to you and they'll teach you all of this or they'll just do it for you for free. So yeah, definitely check out a financial advisor if you're intimidated by this. I'm kind of a DIY person, so I wanted to learn it myself first as far as I could go before I start feeling overwhelmed by it and have to hire someone to help me and pay them. So yeah, well, it's good chatting with you guys. Don't forget our Work in Progress Wednesdays tomorrow. And don't also forget that our theme or our prompt for this month is nightmare. So I've been working on mine. I haven't posted any pictures of my progress yet, but I've been sketching it out. I'll give you a little peek right now. It is about getting lost. So the last nightmare I had was about getting lost. It was actually a lucid dream, which made it worse. It made it a lot worse. So, but you'll have to see it when I post it in there, probably at the end of the month because it's probably gonna take me a while. But all right, cool. Well, thanks for hanging out with me. I hope this has been super helpful for you. I know finances are boring, but I hope that I made them a little bit easier to understand. And we'll do this again and we'll make things bite-sized so that, if it's all at once, it's overwhelming. So, okay, well, thanks. I will talk to you later. Ooh. And